Call the meeting to order. Please stand for the flag salute.
Please stand for the flag salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, on the consent calendar, we have the agenda for today and
Call a roll.
thank you.
Oh, here we go.
I'll take a minute.
The record can reflect,
Right on
the
schedule.
record should reflect the train was present.
Okay, Mayor Paul Aziz.
Here.
Councilor President Bob Elliott.
Here.
Councilor Grizzle. Councilor Bolin. Councilor Reescamp.
Here.
Councilor Fisher.
Here.
And Councilor Scott.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Now we'll move to the consent calendar. We have the agenda for today. One of the things I wanted to mention is the executive session was put there as a placeholder in case there was anything that we needed to discuss, maybe get filled in if you wanted to. Was there any reason that we need to do that? Do you feel that?
Executive session?
Yeah, at this point, because we don't have to, it was more of a placeholder just to make sure everything was taken care of. And we want to make the meeting announcement if we needed to have the meeting.
Unless there's any discussion on contract terms that needs.
And those we can discuss in the open meeting, yeah.
Whatever.
Yes.
Just fine.
Are you okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, then, on the agenda, then, we will not meet in executive session. And do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar for the agenda, removing the executive session?
So moved?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to the amended agenda. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, the consent calendar passes. Public comments? I won't read the whole thing unless there is any public comments. Seeing none, we'll move on to the next. We're not having the executive session. We'll move to the regular session. City manager employment. As you councilors have in front of you the agreement, and for the public's benefit, we have put out an offer to Dana Lavatt. Dana Lavatt. I'm sorry, he has that silent H in his name. And we have a contract that we have written up. Our city attorney's gone over with us, and he has given a preliminary okay that he would sign this. There are a couple changes of things that we talked about on Friday. One of those things in the in the relocation expense, you'll notice instead of $10,000 that we had discussed, it went up to $11,600, and that was $1,600 to cover COBRA for the 2 months that he won't be able to have health insurance when he transfers over here for him and his wife. And we thought that was reasonable, so we added that in there. And then the other was the review.
It's on the back
page.
Mayor.
Performance appraisal. We had talked about a 3-month in the offer. Mr. Prothman and us, when we'd put together the offer, we had put 6 months in there, forgetting that we had talked about 3 months. I felt that the 6 months was reasonable because that's still a shorter time than normal, and that would give us time. Because 3 months, how long does it take? 3 months, we won't know anything, really. So we would have a 6 month.
Sounds about like the norm, isn't it?
Well, it's 6 month review, and then after that, then he would have the 1 year at the end of that year. So yeah, then it would go to the normal 1 year. So those are the only differences of anything that we've discussed. And then Barry, did you have a question on?
Yeah, I just wanted to digest this because I'm just really reading.
Okay.
But get back on 2H.
Okay.
The definition of for cause is my question. Termination for cause shall be for adjudicated violations or malfeasance. In other words, we're talking some form of criminal behavior. And from a supervisory perspective, criminal behavior doesn't cover cause by quite a bit in my mind. There are all sorts of other causes that are legitimate causes for dismissal of an employee besides criminal behavior. And to restrict us this way seems a little bit slanted. So I'm not sure a better way to say it off the top of my head, but that seems pretty narrow.
Well, I think that would be covered under our city employee,
The handbook.
the handbook,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, yeah, but what we're talking about here is termination for cause. In other words, he can violate anything in the handbook and he still gets severance, unless it's criminal. That's what we're saying here.
Correct, yes.
And that seems a little inappropriate. I mean, I think he shouldn't get severance if there's a really good reason for asking him to leave. So I'd like to broaden that
Okay.
definition for cause. It seemed to me, I mean, I'm just bringing it up. I'd like some conversation about it, but.
What are your thoughts, John?
This language in H is the absolute standard in city manager contracts. It's for cause and it's based on adjudicated violations. So if you do choose to spend time expanding it, I think you want to probably re-engage Mr. Levac
That makes sense if we're-
and talk about it in greater detail. I don't think it's anything that we're going to be able to work through today. I'd frankly save it for a discussion where you could have, if you're inclined to approve this, have an amendment to the contract if you work through
And that kind of thing is fine procedurally. I don't.
a revision.
I'm more interested at the moment in what the response to my idea is here. Is everybody pushing me back, or is everybody fine with this except me, or I'm just kind of looking for some consensus here?
Well, doesn't this malfeasance in performing the duties of the office kind of cover that?
No. Malfeasance is going to be some form of criminal behavior. Typically. I mean, words mean certain things, in a formal environment. And when you say something like an irregularity, that doesn't mean you made a mistake. That means you, with intention, did something inappropriate. So, malfeasance tends to be that kind of a thing. It's not just, I broke the local rule. It's.
Yeah, just from a manager's perspective, you've got somebody very excited to come here. He's a proven professional, and so the areas that you're worried that a candidate or an employee may get into in terms of ignoring a policy, I don't think are going to be a concern.
I don't expect so either, but we are talking about a contract here. I mean, if we're going to have a contract, we ought to spell out what we mean.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been burned on contracts before because I was a little bit lax, and so I'm just.
Well, if there's traction with the rest of the council on your issue, you got two options. One would be to just look at it as a future amendment after talking with Trey and Dana about it, or to look at it when a revision period comes around in an annual contract renewal. Either of those would make the most sense in my mind.
That makes a lot of sense to me, but I guess then my remaining question is there any traction here? What do you guys think?
I'm not sure I read anything here that, because if I'm reading you right, Barry, you're saying that based on this paragraph, and it states there is no severance for any violation that falls under this guideline.
Right.
And what's wrong with that?
Nothing.
Okay.
No, there's nothing wrong with this. I would make it even more broad. I would say, in other words, there's no severance even for stuff that violates the handbook kind of thing.
Basically, what you're saying is he decides one week that, I think I'll just stay home and watch television for 4 weeks. It's not against the law.
Yeah.
But it's not a highly desirable work practice.
Yeah.
And we don't want to reward that if that caused his termination.
Yeah, so he just takes extended time off, is not available, we can't get a hold of him, and we say, look, buddy, either do your job or you're out of here, and he doesn't do his job, and so we fire him. Well, we're obligated to pay him 6 months severance because he's a schmuck, and he didn't break any laws like Floyd said, but contractually we have to pay him severance for that. And
Well, I think the handbook, and I haven't looked at that for some time, but I think that's pretty well spelled out.
yeah, the handbook says you can fire him for that, but this contract says we have to pay him severance even if he does violate the handbook.
It does?
Yeah, the only thing we don't have to pay severance for is if it's a criminal act.
Criminal act.
And I'm saying, oh no, I think cause ought to be a little broader than that.
And I guess I would make the observation that you don't want to spend a lot of time talking about an issue that will not become an issue on the crest of having a really good candidate come
I
in.
understand that, and that's why I say I don't really feel like I have to make a big case out of this. I certainly don't have any concerns with Dana at this stage. I'm just talking about contractual language.
Yeah, and I think at the level that he's at too, at the management level,
I don't
the
anticipate
biggest
issues
thing
at
I would
all.
see would be, the G would need to be enacted. But I just feel with us as the council, and if we're keeping an eye on him, and reviewing him when we're supposed to, and we have a good relationship with him, we're meeting with him constantly, I don't feel that's necessary, but that's my feeling.
At this stage of the game,
Yeah. And that's something, like you said, we could redo
in the
later
future, or
contract, right?
the next time we come to this, we ought to have maybe malfeasance or gross violation of company policy, something
That's
like
okay.
that. But I'm okay.
I don't feel a need to change it at the moment, but I'm thinking, if we're going to write contracts, the whole nature of a contract is to make things more or less ironclad, say what you mean exactly, and this is not a handshake, this is a contract. And, I think if you ask Dana, he would understand that concept very well with his background.
He can help us craft the language.
Sure. These kinds of things, if we're going to write a contract, the fact that the standard procedure doesn't really work for a contract either, for me. So, I'm just raising the issue. I'm hearing not a lot of traction, so I'll drop it.
Another thing, he was, when I met with him for the offer letter, he was very pleased with the being involved in the two different organizations, that we would take care of that. He really believes professional development is important.
The civic organization?
In the
public.
professional organizations, the two city manager organizations, and he was real pleased with that also. I'm very excited. I think that he's ready to go. Any other comments or questions on the contract?
Well, the professional organizations, as part of the city of Lebanon, isn't he automatically, with our fees to League of Oregon Cities, that's automatic, isn't it?
I don't know if it's automatic or not.
Because we pay a fee to the league.
We are members, and so by extension, he will go to League of Oregon City conferences. There are separate OCCMA and ICMA memberships that that Lebanon has been committed to in the past and will continue with Dana.
Yeah, I assumed that, but
And then the date that we could work out for everybody, so that John could be here for a little bit of an overlap, was the 26th of August. That way, that'll give them plenty of time to get their affairs together and get up here.
That's not unreasonable to me. Tell him to be here Monday.
I did ask him that. And he did laugh.
Barry's tired of me.
Barry would like to have Dana in-house a long time before you're gone. I'm not tired of you in a little bit.
Thank you.
Just for the record.
yeah, Mr. Mayor, I'm comfortable with the contract as it's presented. I'm sure it's probably no different than a lot of other city manager contracts.
Okay?
And to raise just a quick, go ahead.
Go
Bob.
ahead, go ahead.
Not really germane as far as adopting the contract, but on the performance things, the process and criteria need to be established at the beginning of the performance period. That means by the time he starts, and also, or as set by council. So maybe soon, I'd like to understand what that might look like.
Okay.
So we can have
That would be a good
conversation.
discussion we can have, yes.
No, I'm comfortable with the contract the way it's written.
Are you okay, Barry, with?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay.
I
And
mean,
Floyd?
Yeah, I've made my comments.
Okay. With that, it seems like we've worked through any of the little questions that we had. Do I have a motion?
I move we approve this contract as presented.
Second it.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the City of Lebanon employment agreement with Dana Lavatt. And all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? The contract passes unanimously. Items from council. Anybody have anything? Did you have anything, John?
Nope,
Okay.
from staff.
All right. I did want to thank Jamie and the staff and just preparing the event that we had Friday night. I thought it went really well.
Nice.
We had about 45 people. During our deliberations on Friday, we were able to get those comments. They got all those comments together for us. We were able to see those. Then we had the panels that were put together. It was just a lot of work, and I really appreciate it. And I know you were shorthanded with Linda being gone, so just really appreciate that. And also the public input. We really appreciated the public's input. It did help in our decision-making because it was really good to bounce off what we were thinking and what the public was thinking. And quite honestly, I think it was pretty unanimous. Everybody was looking towards our candidate here. Any one of the candidates, as we talked about, probably could do the job, but I think that this was the right fit for our community. And I think Dana's going to be great, and we're looking forward to it. Any public comments? Yes.
Why? Why did he rise above the others?
He really researched, one of the things for me, and then I'll let the other counselors speak, but he researched this town. When he came in and interviewed, he knew what we were doing, what we've been doing, and he also knew where he could see a vision of taking us, and if, taking the council vision. He was also interested in doing a visioning process with the council, something that I really want, so that we have a long-term vision for our community, and that 10, 20 years down the road, we are going towards some type of a vision, and not just being a city running day to day. So there were some really positive things. He spoke very well when he spoke to the community on Thursday night. He did a great job. He has a lot of great qualities, and even though he hasn't managed a city per se, his county experience will directly apply to his position here. And having a
Did
leak.
you give a good reason why his contract as an assistant DA or the one court job, he was kind of, I don't want to say ousted because that wasn't the case, but
I don't remember.
shake up and he was kind of let go.
I don't remember that off the top of my head. I do remember, though, that he was the interim. Right now is where he's at Gila, is it? Gila? Gila. Yeah. Yeah, I don't remember that. But his,
Any of them could have been like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's part of it. It sounds like it's part of the job.
yeah, I think so. And his references were impeccable. I mean, he had fantastic references from the people that, within the county, the other people just spoke highly of him that worked with him and for him and as supervisor.
They had a new county commission election, and the newcomers wanted to go in a different direction, is how it was explained to me by Mr. Prothman.
Alex, trying to answer your question for myself, why Dana? And again, it's probably a little subjective for me, but qualifications-wise, at least three, probably all four of these gentlemen were very, very highly qualified, excellent references, all really good people. I mean, these are the four that kind of bubbled to the top out of 30-some applicants. And even some of the other applicants were good people. So these were clearly, high-end candidates. And so there was nothing really wrong with any one of them. We had to choose among them. For myself, it probably boiled down to some intangibles. And it was, I guess for lack of a better term, he appeared to have a little bit of a fire in the belly of some, I'm not sure if that's the right way of putting it. And he had a little bit of a, perhaps it was a passion, I don't know if that's the right word for it, but something that said, not only do I really want to do this, because several of them really wanted the job, but he not only wanted the job, he wanted to do some stuff for Lebanon, and he went to find out what that was and had some suggestions for us right in the moment of what needed to be done, what he thought he could do, and also what he couldn't do and what we needed to do. So he just seemed to have a sense of where I want to go, and when he shows up here on August 26th, we're going to sit down with him and find out if that's really true, and, and we're going to hold him to it, and presumably he's going to hold us to some things as well. So I'm really looking forward to that collaboration. And I think he's the kind of guy, he demonstrated already that he's not a rubber stamp. He's not going to just tell us what we want to hear. And I think he's going to find a council that works the same way. He's not probably always going to like what we say, but I think we're going to be able to dialogue well. So I'm really anticipating that dynamic.
We'll have about a good month of dry weather before balance that result.
We actually asked that just to make sure, because Arizona's so different, and they said that they're looking forward to this kind of weather. They actually like the rain and the darker days. So I hope, we'll see. It's different when you live here for a while.
Different when you live in Arizona.
Yeah.
Well, he appeared to me as a take-charge type of person, and I don't think he'll back away from any problems. I think he'll meet it head-on. So I'm pretty impressed with him myself.
You know, unfortunately, I wasn't able to participate due to medical reasons, but, you know, the citizens that call me from the meet and greet and the mayor's input, plus the references and paperwork I had to use. As Barry stated earlier, I think what attracted me more about Dana was I think he had a passion for Lebanon, from what the meet and greet people told me his wife did. And so I just think we have a great candidate, and he's going to come in here with a lot of passion and energy.
I really felt that he presented a complete package, and he gave very good answers that were not out of a can. They addressed the things that we discussed. They were well thought out. And he appeared to have done that at a number of levels, because even though some people were high here, lower there, he was consistently high in all the groups, in all of the formats, and that impressed me that someone could maintain that to please that many people. So I felt if he could do that with that balance of humor and precision answering and care and concern, he would do that in the job and satisfy the people of this town.
What were the comments from in general, what were the comments from the meet and greet?
They were very positive. Yeah, he definitely was. Yeah, the comments were very positive.
Of course, after the meet and greet, there was a variety of comments, and at least 3 of the candidates were top picks from people that I spoke with. So I couldn't probably have chosen one based on public comments right after the meet and greet, because all 3, of the 3 in particular, presented very, very well. And I know I spoke to several city staff folks who chose other candidates based on the meet and greet. And so I think all of them did a fine job. But again, I come back to saying that all 4 candidates were quality candidates, so that's not surprising.
One other really good quality that he has is his law background and his justice background, which really is something that's kind of hard to get, and that's going to be a real benefit for our town, for our community, to be able to understand the police department, to be able to understand the court system. That's very important. That's kind of hard if you don't know it, if you haven't worked with it.
That was a real strong component of his ability, and having 2 attorneys on staff is not a bad deal.
No.
Well, he sure seemed relaxed at home with his meet and greet.
He did. And I believe, too, that they arrived like a day early. They're one of the few candidates that did that, him and his wife, and they drove around quite a bit. And oh, that's right, yeah. And it was very impressive. They knew the area. When he interviewed, he was very prepared. John, did you have any comments?
On our tour of the city, which I was on, Dana asked more questions than anyone else on the tour, and more concerns about some of the lower income housing that we have here in the town. And I think he came forward very truthful on these, and he had concerns, but yet he saw the good spots too. So.
And he also was talking about ways to
Yes.
make things better, which was positive to hear.
Yeah.
It sounds like the county in Strong's pretty rural. There's only 50,000 people in the county, and 7,500 in the county seat town, so he understands rural.
Yeah. Yes. Did you have anything, Audrey?
Thank you for letting me sit in.
Sure.
Yeah, don't mention it.
Yeah. Very good.
Yeah, so is he back home?
He was on his way yesterday. They left yesterday. We're hoping to have him here, but they need to get back, so.
He's not back home, he's visiting in Arizona at the moment.
That's right. Okay. Seeing none, no other comments, we'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting.